Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you tonight to the City Council meeting for the City of Hayden, Idaho. It is Tuesday, June 27th, 2023 at 5:01 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. May I please have a roll call of the council members? Abby?
Council President Roeder?
Yes.
Councilmember DePriest?
Here.
Councilmember Satterfield?
Yes.
And Councilmember White? Yes.
Thank you. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen of council, do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda tonight? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, the City of Hayden does business all the time. Much of it does not involve City Council. However, some of the business that the city does require the approval or the consent of council. As you might be able to see from your agenda tonight, the items that we are looking at tonight for the consent calendar are, and you can pack a lunch if you'd like to. 1A, the approval of the November 22nd, 2022 City Council meeting minutes. 1B, the approval of the March 17th, 2023 Hayden Area Regional Sewer Board Joint Entity meeting minutes. 1C, approval of the March 22nd, 2023 City Council meeting minutes. 1D, approval of the March 28th, 2023 City Council special meeting minutes. 1E, approval of the March 28th, 2023 City Council meeting minutes. 1F, approval of the April 4th, 2023 City Council special meeting minutes. 1G, the approval of the April 14th, 2023 City Council joint meeting minutes with the Hayden Urban Renewal Agency. 1H, the appointment of the Planning and Zoning Commission member. 1I, the approval of the 2023 Hayden Triathlon event permit application, loudspeaker use request application, and support agreement. 1J, the approval of the 2023 Spokane to Sandpoint relay event permit application. 1K, the approval of the 2023 Hayden Days entertainment agreement with Kelly Hughes. 1L, ratification of the 2023 Lake City figure skating contractual service agreement. 1M, the approval of payments for the 2023 Hayden's Got Talent winners. 1N, the approval of the 2023 Honeysuckle Beach concessions proposal and agreement with locals. 1O, the approval of the Amanda Powers promotion to assistant treasurer. 1P, the acceptance of the Hess Street Properties LLC grant of easement and dedication of the right-of-way. 1Q, the acceptance of Roseco LLC grant of easement and dedication of the right-of-way. 1R, the approval of Welch Comer Engineers, Inc. Professional Services Agreement Amendment 2 for the Hayden Atlas Roundabout design. 1S, the approval of Professional Services Agreement with Welch Comer Engineers, Inc. for the Hayden Meadows Elementary School pedestrian route project. 1T, the ratification of bills paid on June 16th, 2023. And 1U, the approval of bills for payment. All right. City Council members have been given the background material for all of these and had a chance to discuss this with city staff for questions that they had. Council members, do we have any additional comments or questions regarding the consent calendar? Hearing none, I'd be happy to hear a motion regarding the consent calendar tonight.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. DePriest, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as is there.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any other comments or questions regarding the consent calendar and the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please. Abby?
Councilmember Satterfield?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Council President Roeder?
Yes.
And Councilmember DePriest?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. The second item that we have tonight is our visitor and public comment. If any of you would care to have, stand up and make a public comment to the council, you're welcome to do so. If you would, please fill out a card like this that's at the back of the room. And at this point, no one's diving for the back of the room, so I'm going to proceed with the one comment that we have right now. When you come up to the front here, I would appreciate if you would please give your name, whether or not you are a resident of Hayden. Our commenter is Deputy Tanner Cox, badge number 2379. Deputy Cox.
Council staff. So I'm going to try every week that, since I'm here anyways, to just give a little tiny update, I guess, on some of the stuff and crimes that we're seeing in the city of Hayden that are kind of going up. This week was fraud was a big one. So, and there we go. Now that should be better.
Great.
It was muted. So again, I'm Deputy Cox. I'm a citizen of Hayden. So this year, or this week, I should say, the big thing that I've seen an uptick in is fraud. So we got lots of calls from different citizens of Hayden and non-citizens of Hayden that have come and been victimized within our city limits. The big one that's lately been going around is phone scams. So people have been calling saying they're from the IRS, Federal Reserve, different government entities asking for you to have to pay a fee in order to either get your Social Security released or in order to get all the fraudulent charges to your accounts in excess of hundreds of thousands of dollars removed from your account. So what they're asking the citizens and these individuals to do is go down to the supermarket, Albertsons, Rite Aid, Walmart, and buy Visa prepaid gift cards, Amazon prepaid gift cards, those sorts of things, and then charge them up with $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 of dollars, and then read all that information over the phone so that way they can reverse your charges. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows no government entity will ever ask you to buy a gift card for any reason at all. And they'll never ask you to read these gift cards over the phone to us. So if you get any of those phone scams, you can always report it to the sheriff's office. We report all of that to the federal agencies such as the FBI. You can also go to ic3.gov. I'll say it again, ic3.gov. It's the FBI's website, and you can do online reporting for any sort of phone or internet scams that do approach you, and that's how they're able to track that. So again, if you ever get any of those phone calls, just know that that's not a real entity asking for that.
Deputy Cox, do we know if anybody has fallen for these?
Yeah, I had a call this week that the individual lost $5,700 worth of his hard-earned savings towards this. So, and that was a Federal Reserve scam. And when you call the phone numbers, they're usually from out of state, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas are the ones I've seen recently. And they're usually to databases in, the Middle East, and they have quite the accent, so.
Did this individual say what it was that convinced him?
Just, he
Right,
thought
her?
he thought it was real and that his Social Security was getting hacked and that he was gonna get charged all these thousands of dollars if he didn't reverse it, so. Touch on that real quick also. Hayden has a panhandling ordinance. There's multiple of them, whether it's an infraction or misdemeanor. A lot of the panhandlers that we have here, we've associated in the past to also doing a lot of scams inside the stores, whether it's selling fake gold jewelry, fake credit cards, those sorts of things. So if you do see any panhandlers in the city of Hayden, usually they'll be around Walmart is a big one or Super One. Please feel free to call us because that's something that we'd like to address. Not necessarily to try to run them out of town, but usually there's a deeper scam that's involved behind the scenes, so.
One more question.
Yeah.
We had some discussion about some vandalism and the like.
Yeah.
At the last meeting. How's that coming along?
We haven't had any new vandalism cases this week that I'm aware of, and we're still actively looking for that, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
your service, sir. Next on our agenda is a commission report. Tonight, we are going to have a commission report from our Veterans Commission. We are pleased to have Mr. Stephen Kazauskas, the chairman of the Hayden Veterans Commission, U.S. Navy retired, here to give us an update on what's happening with the Veterans Commission. Stephen, good to see you.
It's good to see you and such a privilege to talk to you again. Mayor, councilors, and staff members, it's such an honor to be here and to continue our efforts for veterans. And we have some things to report to you that are really good and developmental, and I wanted you to know about them. Since the commission report that I gave in February, we participated in the elementary school Arbor Day event on May 18th. And Susie reports that it really went well. Of course, we had the Memorial Day event, which occurs every year, and it seems that we're building on it, and we're making it more of an event that people outside of Hayden want to come and see because of the reputation that we've developed. Can't take the credit for that, but past years can. And I can say sincere thanks to those of you who were able to attend and even helped us out instrumentally. When I think of names that are on the council, the mayor, obviously Mr. Roeder and Susie. I mean, without you, the glue that holds it all together, it just wouldn't happen the way that it did. And I can tell you that from people that I've talked to outside of that, when I duck, they don't try not to talk too much. But anyway, everything was meaningful and very successful, and we continue that tradition that we're going to go on in the future. Also, I have some good news about the fact that because of the support of our mayor and a letter that he wrote directly to the commissioners, I can report to you that the County Veteran Service Officer that takes care of 16,000 veterans is now going to get an assistance sometime in the future as the appropriation has been agreed to by the commission. And I want to thank you personally and look you in the eye and say thank you for sending the letter because that was instrumental. I know it was because I got a report last night from Tom Freeman that the letters from various sources and including yourself made the essential difference to make it a unanimous vote and not one of those nail biters. So it's going to be a question of appropriation and how they get the money there. I don't know anything about that, but at least we know now that that's going to be done and in the future. So elemental to the veterans, because as a veteran service officer myself, I can tell you the urgency of this matter was paramount. I mean, I'm not overstating it, no hyperbole here. It is the truth. So I think that I give you a round of applause, Mayor, if that were in fact appropriate, but thank you. Thank you so much. And for obviously the support that we get when we do events and so forth, it's absolutely, I brag about it. So thank you. So getting down to a little bit more business, we kicked off a Cimarron shotgun raffle, and I left copies of the description of the weapon and a little bit about the history of it, and a little bit of PR as to how we're going to sell the 1,000 tickets that we have for the raffle. And I would like to offer to our members here that on the next meeting on July 11th, if you're interested in purchasing a ticket, as the sales will be ongoing, then I'm reserving a quantity of them. Probably about 100, but the long and the short of it is I'll have tickets before you drop the gavel on the next meeting, and I will be here an hour before that so I can sell tickets and then turn them over to Susie as part of that raffle event. I didn't want to do it today. I didn't want to take the time listening to the agenda. You'll probably be here all night. So with all due respect, I'd like to defer that. The ticket sales have begun. And they're modest to begin with, but we haven't gotten into the big places yet. In fact, we went to the County Veterans Council last night, and we have informed 38 organizations that we're doing this. So we're competing with some other raffles, to be honest with you, but the quality of what you see in that particular piece, outstanding, and I don't want to go into the details here, but it's very valuable, and I hope that it has a good turnout. We intend to sell 1,000 tickets and be able to give to both the city and to the organizations delineated in the flyer you have appropriately. And I hope there are no questions on that. I'm afraid to answer them. I'm not a gun expert. I think we'll probably leave it as it is. However, next week, or if you see me one-on-one, I'll try to embellish that a little bit with you. And moving right along from there, aside from the fact that the Veterans Day commemoration is going to take place on Saturday, November 11th at 11 a.m., we've set that date in stone. There are some other things that the Veterans Commission is going to be doing. One that's very important is an event, but we're going to begin searching for an appropriate veteran of the year for 2024. And I'm welcoming the commission and/or anyone in our city hall that might have a name to proffer. We always like to have a good competition. The people that we've put up before have really been outstanding, and there are a lot of outstanding people that we don't talk about, but they are. And we'll be doing that, and our target date for that will be September 30th to have ready for the next year. The other events that we're doing outside of Veterans Day, Hayden Parade this Saturday, the 29th of this month, the Fright Trick or Treat Drive, Friday, October 27th, and the Hayden Lights, my favorite, the Hayden Lights Parade, December 2nd. It's always cold, sometimes rainy, and sometimes snow, as we'll remember from last year, putting out the cones in the snowstorm, or at least a foot of snow on the ground. At any rate, and what I'd like to say to you, honestly and truthfully, the support that the Veterans Commission gets from the city, from the people that work there, and obviously from the lady sitting there with the red blouse on, who never likes me to mention her name. The truth of the matter is, without you guys, it wouldn't be what it is. And it's fun, and it's really fun and rewarding to be a veteran and to live in Hayden, Idaho. And other than that, if you have any questions, and I hope you don't, I'm gonna leave it there for now. And I will be here on July 11th, and I will sell tickets if there's anyone that has an interest. No pressure, just it'll be here for you to do it for us. We'll be pretty, I don't think, looking ahead at the way we do this raffle is more of a marathon as opposed to a sprint. And we're going to try to expose a lot of people to this. There are other raffles going on that you might notice around here. I think the AMVETs are doing one, and there's one VFW group doing that. But I think that we're going to be as successful as we can be because we are Hayden. So, any questions before I turn the floor back over? Yes, Mrs. White.
Yes, I have a couple of questions. I think they're easy. So are there openings for more people to join the Veterans Commission right now?
At this point, we have 2 openings for the commission.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
And by the way, incidentally, since you brought that matter up, we have a new assistant chair, and that's going to be Ian Cosby. He was elected because of a problem that our other vice chair could not continue and stepped down. But anyway, there are 2 slots available, and I'm proud to say that the people that we have there, as I say, are very enthusiastic and want to do a good job, and they're innovative, and sometimes it gives me a pause, but I take the pause and we just go with it. So that's the truth. Anything else?
I have one more
Go ahead.
question.
Yes.
Just for the record, and just so we can know who's on the commission, what are the names of the commissioners that are on it? I know I'm probably getting you on that one, but.
I would be happy to try Ian Cosby, Roy Reel, John Spencer, and who else, John, besides them? There's Dennis Dodd, and Dennis Dodd happens to be the person that is very skilled in doing these raffles. So I have a lot of confidence in our success to do that because of Dennis. Did I miss anyone else? I don't think so. Anyway, there's a total of 7 of us. Next time I'll bring my roster because
Yes, thank you.
who knows when it'll change again. So at any rate, thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. I think we did a good job on that.
The Veterans Commission has always been an organization in this city that if you want something done and you want to make sure it's done right, these guys do it. And we appreciate your work very much. Do you have any more of these that you might be able to put on the back table?
Yes,
just in
sir.
case
I brought some
if folks
spares.
are leaving, perhaps they'd like to take a look at it.
Both the specifications as well as the flyer. I can leave them on there. I did bring an extra supply.
Excellent.
Thank you,
All right.
Mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
Tim Turner's our last one.
Okay.
Tim Turner.
Tim Turner.
And he is a great member because I'll say one thing about him, he brought the excellent color guard that came from the U.S. Air Force, which was spit and polish. I mean, the Navy was even competing with them for that.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you so
Guzowski.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Sir, I'll probably excuse myself if you don't need me anymore.
Understand.
Thank you.
Certainly. Item number 4 on our agenda tonight for our unfinished business is the Ramsey Road Gravity Sewer Phase 1 Bid Award. Mr. Stotterling, would you care to give us an overview of that?
Yeah, the Ramsey Road, Phase 1 sewer project is the project that we've been talking about for a number of years that needs to go in before the Ramsey Road roadway extension project. And it starts at Wyoming and it heads north and goes up to Buckles and possibly then along the east side of the airport and connects into the existing 24-inch line eventually down the road. So it is a project that we've talked about. It needs to be constructed this summer because the road's being built next year and we need to get it in. And I don't think there's anything surprising about it.
I believe you have brought this in front of council prior, but not the particular contract award, if that's correct.
No, this is the actual award to the contractor to begin work.
Questions or comments from council members?
Pretty straightforward.
Hearing none, I would be happy to hear a motion regarding this particular item.
Okay. I'll motion to approve the Ramsey Sewer Phase 1 Wyoming to Buckles bid award.
Do we have any other questions or comments from council members?
Second.
Oh, first of all, I'd like to have a second.
Second.
Thank you very much. Now, do we have any additional questions or comments from council members? Hearing none, roll call vote, please, Abby.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Council President Roder,
Yes.
Councilmember Satterfield,
Yes.
and Councilmember DePreez.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 5, new business. Our first item of new business is to appoint Natasha Lang as city treasurer. Brett, would you care to,
Sure, we've gone through an interview process and actually Natasha's in the audience. Would you mind maybe just standing for the group? Just welcome. I think we provided information for you in the packet on some of her background qualifications, master's in accounting and bachelor's in finance and business, if I remember right. And we look forward to getting some help in that position. So I don't know if there's any questions or anything like that, but
as a note to our council members, the reason this is on the agenda as an action item is that our city finance director is an appointed position. And council does need to approve the appointment on that. Do we have any questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I'd be happy to entertain a motion regarding the hiring of Natasha Lang for city finance director.
I'd like to make that motion.
Yes, sir.
My motion is to
Roder?
appoint Natasha Lang as treasurer and finance director for the city of Hayden.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please, Abby.
Councilmember DePreez.
Yes.
Councilmember Satterfield,
Yes.
Councilmember White.
Yes.
And Council President Roder.
Yes.
Motion passes. Natasha, you're on board. We didn't warn you about the rest of it, but we're really glad you're with us. Great. Our next item is a presentation from Ms. Greta Gissel with Connect Kootenai. Greta, nice to have you here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much, council members and Mayor Forcell for having me here. Members of the audience, thank you so much. So I'm gonna start this like this. I'm gonna operate two. Oops. Gotta get it to view. A slideshow. There we go. There we go. Okay. So my name again is Greta Gissel, and I am a local girl. I grew up in Coeur d'Alene. I spent lots and lots of time on Hayden Lake in the summertime at a cabin at a friend's house from high school. So I have many fond memories of being in Hayden and have seen this area grow considerably as you have. But I'm here to talk about local worker housing specifically. As a nonprofit organization, what we are doing is we are focusing on the local worker housing crisis. And I know, council members, you just met with Jeannie from the CDA EDC or Jobs Plus, and she was talking about the importance of having homes for employees that want to live where they work. And that's, so I may be repeating some of this. So Connect Kootenai works with organizations, businesses, citizens, and government entities to preserve, protect, and promote and increase the availability of affordability in housing for local workers in Kootenai County. Some of what we've done is we have taken over the Regional Housing Growth Issues Partnership that Kiki Miller, who is a council member in Coeur d'Alene, started with Hillary Patterson, who is a planning director over in Coeur d'Alene. And they, with the blessing of Mayor Hammond, recognize the dire crisis that our community faced for housing and what we need to do in order to make sure that we can house people who work here. So 44% of the people that live in Kootenai County are part of our ALIS population. And what that means is it's asset, limited, income constrained, employed. So that means that they have good jobs, they live in our community, they don't qualify for public assistance, they don't have any other assistance from anything, but they are barely making ends meet. I lost my, there it is. I lost my cursor on here. Pardon me for a moment. Okay. And so the people that you see here in this picture slide are people like Deputy Cox, our firefighters in our area, our teachers. As a teacher at the Coeur d'Alene Charter Academy, I made, I'm a single mom, I made $46,000 a year as a teacher. And as you all know, those numbers, in order to put that together to make ends meet, is a really difficult number to live by. And with that said, those people like myself that live in that income range, it's really hard to even rent at that rate. So in 2016, in our community, 75% of the people that lived here could afford to buy a home. And now it's less than 25%. And that's what you see, the 75-25. And so one of the gals that I recently met, her name's Louisa, and Louisa works at North Idaho College, but she bought a home over in Spokane because she couldn't afford to live in Coeur d'Alene. And when I recently met with her, she said, oh yeah, I'm trying to find somebody to replace my job. And I said, well, what are you doing? She said, well, I'm leaving. She goes, my husband and I, we want to raise a family and we can't afford to live in Coeur d'Alene, so we're moving to where the bugs are. That's a quote from her. So she's moving to where the bugs are, where the homes are more affordable, because she can't afford to live where she works in our community. And that's quite sad. Oh, there we go. So this is a wheel of area median income, or AMI, and that's the number that people talk about a lot in our communities. And area median income right now in the area is $93,900, and that's for a family, okay? So if you make $93,900, you're at the median of income. So half the people that live in our community earn above that, and half people live below or make below that. And so Connect Kootenai works with that 80 to 120% of area median income, and those are the people that we're trying to house, and those are our firefighters, our policemen, our sheriffs, and so on. And so an $80,000 or 80% of that number is $75,000. Like I said, 100% is 93, and then 120 is $112,000. And if you make above that, then you're at market rate housing. And so as you can see, this wheel, those supportive services in the blue, those are the people that St. Vincent de Paul services. And the very low income to low income, that 30 to 80, those are the people that are really caught in the middle and have some services and can get some services, but yet won't be able to afford to buy a home here. So in order to do what we do, we have to all work together. And so this is just a slide with logos showing that we all are in this together. Through collaboration and the significant brain trust that all of these organizations come together and pull together, it's our duty to make sure that our local workers can live and we can grow. We can have families that live here. Families are the basis of the foundation of a community. We need families to grow here. We need those children to stay here so that they can occupy those jobs that are vacant at this time. So when we combined with the Regional Housing Growth Issues Partnership, we took that over in January of this year. And so it's made up of a working group, which are people that are from different municipalities and the North Idaho Building Contractors Association, NIBCA, advisory group, reporting partners such as the Panhandle Affordable Housing Alliance, the Habitat for Humanity, and others, including Home Share. Then we also have volunteer subcommittees that do some research and help us with some things that we're working on. And then we are always looking to reach out into the community to gain more information and knowledge from those people. But this particular group is made up of 12 organizations and 23 members. And so it's quite a lot of people that come together to talk about it. So Local Worker Housing Solutions Toolkit. This is what's come out of the last couple of years of work. And we held in last November, and we will repeat this in this coming November, a planning and zoning workshop where we brought planning and zoning members from all of the municipalities. We sat them in a room together and we said, how are we going to solve this crisis? What are some ways that we can solve the crisis of local worker housing? And through that, a half dozen or more came out of that particular workshop. And as we work with the community and other people, we've come up with all of these, and I'm going to go into a few of them. So some of the achievements that we have right now, and like I said, our reporting partners are Home Share Kootenai County. And that came out of this housing and growth organization that we are. So they pair homeowners that have a room available with people that are looking for housing, and they pair them up and vet that relationship, and then for usually some mutual benefit. So let's say a senior citizen has a house and they'd like someone to live with them, they pay rent, and then they can help with things around the house perhaps or whatever through an agreement between those parties. Panhandle Affordable Housing Alliance, or PAHA, those are voluntary deed restrictions, and that restricts the use of the land and the home on the land, and each and every deed restriction is different based on the developer and the agreements that they come to. So essentially, if there's a local worker house that is sold to someone that earns between 80 and 120% of that area median income, they get to buy that house for a reduced rate. When they sell that home, they get a percentage of that equity that's built up over the time, and then that house gets resold to someone in that 80 to 120%. So that protects that housing to someone in that range. Resident-owned communities for mobile home parks. Victoria O'Banion is the person who does this, and what she does is she gets the homeowners on a mobile home park. She has them come together and form a homeowners association and talk to the landowner about purchasing the land their mobile home sits on so that they can control the rent. She's had a couple of successful opportunities, and as you know, if you read the paper, there have been some that we just didn't get it done in time. And so, but these are things that we're actively working on. The Open Space Committee, when we did a survey recently in the past, last year, their open space was the #1 priority, and people wanted to preserve that. And as your survey results have come to fruition, people are also interested in preserving open space here. And then we are doing an additional University of Idaho housing study with the Panhandle Affordable Housing Alliance and the CDA EDC, or Jobs Plus. And that housing study is where we got that 75-25 number. And I'm really interested to see what those numbers are going to be when that comes out in the end of July. We've also done rental surveys to see where rents have been. And so last year, 93% of the people, the 1,500 people that we surveyed, had their rents increased by an average of $328. And 51% of the renters' income is going out into their rent. Now, what should be happening is people should spend, according to HUD and everybody else, 30% of their income on their housing, but these people are spending over 50%. And so we also have numbers on home ownership. And in order to purchase a home in our area at the median home price, which is above $500,000 right now, if you're making $93,000, you're paying up over 40% of your income towards your home at current rates. And of course that fluctuates all the time, but some of the things that are in the works is the consolidated accessory dwelling unit, or ADUs. And the goal here is to find 4 or 5 accessory dwelling units, or ADU plans, that the jurisdictions or different cities will approve. And that way, if someone wants to build an ADU in their backyard to provide housing for their kids, for grandma, or for a local worker, they can take the plan that has been approved, purchase that plan from the city, bring it to a builder, and then they build it. There's lots of moving parts to that, but that's the idea, is that it would remove some of the barriers to building something. Tiny home villages or cottage homes are something that some cities have talked about in Kootenai County. Builder developer incentives, as far as, can we take a piece of property and change the setback somehow to make it work for maybe an additional unit for local worker housing or something to that. I know that I have a short amount of time, so I'm going to continue, but I wanted to touch on some of these things. One of the future things we're doing is the Coeur d'Alene Regional Realtors Association is going to partner with the Home Partnership Foundation, which is the Idaho Housing and Finance Association, for fundraising. Realtors will fundraise and put money voluntarily into a pot of money that Home Partnership Foundation will manage. And that money, clients looking for a home can apply for funds to be able to buy down their rate, get help with closing costs and things like that, so we can get people into homes. Banks and lenders are doing different things now. There's a 40-year mortgage again. Shuttered projects are something that, if a project's been denied approval, we're going to look at those properties and say, is there a way to bring that back to the table? Why was it denied? And is there a way to bring it back so that we can provide some affordable local worker housing in that? And then the John Breeding Commons in Post Falls is a low-income property that would be on Celtice over in Post Falls. And so that's something else that, like I said, we work within Kootenai County, and so we are focused on the humans in Kootenai County and just the citizens in general, and how can we keep our families here. These are the people that were involved in the planning and zoning joint workshop, and we'll have it again this November, like I said. And this is just a slide to illustrate that it really takes a village, and this is what we all do together. These are some of the surveys that we have right now. You can find those on our Facebook page, but these are the 2 live surveys, one about what are your priorities for this region. I know you guys just did one and you already said what you wanted here in Hayden, but this is for the entire county. And then we also have a rental survey. So if you know any renters, we'd love to have them give us their input. So far, our rental survey has shown that 87% of the rents have gone up for the people that have taken our survey. So it was 93% last year, it's 87% this year, but it's really good to keep your pulse on what's going on. So Connect Kootenai, we're here to connect, like I said, to make sure that we can create a better tomorrow for everyone and provide a place where people can belong, where they can thrive, and have the opportunity to make a positive impact. We have monthly housing and growth meetings where we talk specifically about local worker housing. And we also have monthly partner synergy meetings, because housing is not the only thing that we do. We have 6 focus areas. So we focus on our community, on education and learning, and our environment and recreation opportunities. Health and safety is really big right now. We really focus a lot on mental health for our youth and our adult population, as well as substance use disorders, because people that need help, we've got to get people the help that they need, and on jobs and economy. This is my leadership, my board of officers and my board members. And then I also have a staff member. Her name is Tess Reeser, and she's fantastic. So I'm not going to read their names to you, but they are on the website. And then we are like I said, a nonprofit. We do rely on private funding through connection and collaboration. We hope to ignite the passion that you have as an individual to work with us at Connect to Kootenai to make a positive impact on your community and the entire county. These are people that have helped support us in the past, and we just want to give a shout out and say thank you for your support. And then that's what I have for you today. So that was a really quick and fast with a lot of information. And I'm happy to, if you would like to email me with any questions, I'm happy to do that or answer them now. And I will be dropping off a packet with my slide presentation and additional information on some of the housing studies that we've done for all of you tomorrow. So.
Grit, I have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
From your presentation, it sounds like this is all local folks that are making this happen. It's strictly a local interested person initiative.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very commendable.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Other questions from council members? Thank you very much for coming and telling us about this. This is
Thank you,
new
Mayor.
information for all of us.
Thank you, Mayor. And council members, if anybody would like to get involved, please let me know. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Our next item for business, for new business, item C is the Mayo Annexation Deferred Development Agreement. Donna, are you here to talk to us about that?
No, I didn't do a slide presentation or anything, but I probably should show a graphic so I can talk to it about it.
Oh, okay.
So, in the memo is, so what is an deferred annexation, an annexation deferred development agreement? Changes every time to try to make it easier to understand. So a few years back, we entered into an area of city impact agreement with Kootenai County. And a part of that agreement identified that in areas that are within the exclusive tier of the area of city impact, that's the light pink colors, their pockets kind of everywhere, that those developments are envisioned that at some point in the future, they will be annexed into the city limits. And as such, since they will be at some point in the future annexed into the city, they need to develop in accordance with the city's development standards. So we review various site plans that come in according to our standards and work back and forth with the county and their standards. And they don't always jive very well. And in some cases, you just can't get all of our standards met because of a variety of reasons. Maybe the infrastructure is not all the way there. Maybe the road isn't all the way there. Maybe the sewer isn't all the way there. But we still need to figure out a method that when certain infrastructure is close enough, that they would then request to annex and potentially put in that infrastructure. In the case that we have here, this project has been ongoing since about 2018. And I provided in your memo just kind of a time frame. So it kind of lagged a lot during COVID. And they have dedicated the right-of-way. And so you'll see dedication of right-of-way up here and down here. They put in the sidewalks and the swales adjacent to Vernon J. Baker Boulevard. And they've constructed the site on this site as part of this agreement on this piece of property. Now, one of the requirements of all of our non-residential projects is that the site has to have a sewer system so that when people go out and use whatever that non-residential facility is, in this case, self-storage, that if they need to use a restroom, that a restroom is available. We recognize the fact that this is a part of this phase of this project, and that that Little Tree does have bathroom facilities in the office up here, as well as in the office in the back. And we recognize that. However, our code requires that you need to provide municipal sewer and connect to city sewer when it's available. So we would be remiss if we didn't recognize the fact that there's a lift station that's currently under construction underneath my clicker point. And so when that lift station is completed, sewer will be close, still not really close, but close. But we also recognize that recently we entered into an agreement with Gargoyle Granite, also in our area of city impact, that in order to allow them to expand, they needed to connect to sewer when sewer became available. So when this lift station is completed and approved as approval of infrastructure by the city council, comes on board, Gargoyle Granite will run a sewer line along West Bent's Road to connect their project to city sewer. Part of that agreement also says that they will annex when they're able to. And right now they can't annex because there isn't anybody, they're not contiguous to the city anywhere. When they bring sewer across Bent's, it'll then be close enough to be able to offer sewer to Little Tree. And the agreement, as you have in your packet, identifies that when we accept that infrastructure, that they'll have a given length of time to request to be annexed. This agreement doesn't require them to be annexed. It requires them to request it. And then should city council believe that now is the time that you're ready to annex them, then we would annex this piece, and then this would tag along with it, and more than likely Bent's. But nothing in this agreement requires the annexation. It just recognizes the fact that they're currently on septic and they should be on sewer. And cities shouldn't be sewering properties outside of their jurisdiction. So that's what this is about. And as these come forward, you may see more of these kinds of deferred agreements simply because they have some nuance that can't get constructed today. Does that make sense? Did I cover that, Fonda?
Yes, you did a great job. Thank you.
So both Gargoyle and what's this other, the new one?
It's Doug and Jody Mayo's Trust, but it's Little Tree as a business.
Little Tree. So they are all in the city's impact area.
Correct.
Okay.
Exclusive.
Exclusive tier. Of the-
Exclusive zone. Right. Thank you.
What does exclusive zone mean?
So when they redid the ACI several years ago, they recognized that there were certain
The ACI.
area of city impact. Thank you. They recognized that there were certain areas that were most likely going to be annexed into the city specifically. And then they also created this shared tier, this kind of lime, really light colored lime green, kind of over here. That is a shared area of city impact between Rathdrum, Post Falls, and Hayden. So it recognized that there could be infrastructure as those cities grew that would encompass that shared area. But wasn't designated to a specific city.
But this particular one we're talking about is.
Correct.
Done.
Yes.
And this is all commercial zoned in the future?
Yes. In the future land use map, it is commercial zone.
So then the shared area of impacts we discuss with other cities, but if it's in our in the city of Hayden's exclusive area, city of Hayden only applies its standards to
Correct.
whatever potential development there is.
That's correct.
Could you go back to zoom in to the parcels again, please?
The ones that we're looking at. Do you want me to turn the shading off or?
No. So my question is, there are properties to the east of Government Way there, and there's properties to the south of the parcel that we're looking at right now. there's a bunch of buildings there. I see storage buildings to the right of the target parcel.
Correct.
What's to the south?
So this is Little Tree.
Right, but what's,
Is Tobler's, isn't Tobler's, right? I
Tobler
always
Marine.
get Tobler's and Mark's
That
backwards,
one's
so I
Tobler's.
apologize.
Yeah.
So this piece here is Tobler's in the county, and this is Tobler's in the city. They own parcels in both, which
so
Interesting.
Tobler's in the county, are they on a sewer?
they're on septic.
So it's probably a natural progression that those properties would want to be on sewer eventually.
Potentially.
Is that true? Do we, one of the issues that we've been looking at, and I said on the Hayden Area Regional Sewer Board is, there's more, well, there's always stuff from EPA, but there are certain chemicals, PFAS, and other discharges that commercial properties are making that cause angst within our sewer treatment plant. And so do you recognize that any of those potential properties have those issues with discharging potential chemicals that could become a treatment problem?
Actually, Mr. Roeder, I believe you are giving a perfect lead-in to our next subject that's on the agenda.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yes. Yes, perfect lead-in.
So are there, I guess my concern is we're looking at properties that may be annexed in. And right now, our sewer treatment plant, based on Ken Windrum's monthly report, says that we have between 1,000 to 1,100 residential hookups that can be added to the treatment plant. Now, I don't know how that equates into this commercial wastewater units, but my concern is Hayden Canyon alone, eventually when it's all built out, will be 1,500 units, residential units possibly. And I'm thinking about, I would rather give weight to our current developments for those hookups than looking at annexing a property or properties that need sewer treatment for an annexation down the road eventually.
Correct, but in order to meet our current standards and our current design standards, they are required to connect to sewer when it becomes available. So they don't have to connect tomorrow, they don't have to connect next week, but at some point, if their septic fails, they will be close enough that they will be required to connect to city sewer.
Well, my point is that there is a finite number of hookups based on our treatment plant. And when you say they're required to hook up at some point, what if we don't have enough at that point? I mean, because we don't guarantee we don't guarantee sewer hookups for the future. We don't. So that's my concern is I'm thinking about the priority of existing developments within the city that need those hookups and whether I would want to annex more property in that will then potentially, maybe we don't have enough down the road. I mean, that's a guess. I don't know.
The issue with
questions?
this particular agreement is, and this issue is that they are located within our exclusive tier ACI. And that agreement is heavily negotiated with the county to say that when they come forward with these developments, that they have to build to our design standards. So this is a code-driven presentation to you with the ability to defer it and not require them to do something drastic now or in the near future, but have them still comply with code, which is what we negotiated with the county in that agreement for the exclusive tier ACI.
So you made the comment, and I want to make sure I understand it, that even though we would say, yes, you got to meet our design standards for the city, we're not under any obligation now or in the future to annex them. There's no connection to take this first step that guarantees them an annexation. Is that correct?
That's
That is
absolutely
correct.
Okay.
Ms. White, you had a question?
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand what this means. If this isn't entering into an agreement, then what are we agreeing to tonight? Because it does say, further development shall be in ordinance, and annexation shall include, I mean, there's a lot of shalls in here. So how binding is this agreement?
Well, the agreement's binding. They shall request annexation at that point, but every city council, whoever is sitting up there at that time, has a decision to make when the request comes forward. So you are balancing the agreement with your ACI exclusive tier agreement that you have with the county. And the benefit of that is to be able to say, at some point, some council negotiated that this was an area that was important for potential growth for the city of Hayden, and identified it and entered into an agreement with the county for this to be in our exclusive tier. The trade-off for that is then the county, when development comes, is required to hold them to our design standards. But when balancing that then with the property interests of the property owners and not want to overburden them immediately, we enter into these deferred agreements so that it can punt some of those design standard requirements down the road while still protecting our right to have exclusive tier ACI. That's a lot of moving parts, I know, but that's the sort of overarching nuts and bolts of how this comes about.
Mr. DePriest.
Thank you. So am I understanding it correctly that if we deny this, we're violating an agreement with the county, and this whole thing would be a violation of?
It technically would be a violation of your agreement with the county for the requirements in your exclusive tier ACI.
And what potential, if you can comment, recourse do they have for our potentially violating the agreement?
Well, you want these properties that are contiguous to your city to build to your design standards for the potential of growth down the road. So you don't want to have that agreement with the county violated and then have the county come back on us and say, well, you're not holding up your end by
It opens the door wide open.
allowing or forcing basically,
Yeah.
but by following your own code on these design standards, we negotiated for that.
Okay. And a comment, I guess, to this, and it's running through my head. I know we have a major imbalance between, when we talk about property taxes, between residential and business and commercial. If they annex in, they then come on to the city tax base as commercial, which to whatever degree would reduce that or deal with that imbalance positively, I should say, for property owner, for residential base, because you got a little more coming in on the commercial side. So, I mean, I would tend to look at it as that. I don't think violating an agreement is really a real good idea to open a potential Pandora's box of future issues.
Other questions, council members? Mr. Satterfield.
I agree with Councilmember DePriest. And one of the things that Councilmember Roeder brought up was potential contamination, if you will, to the sewer system. These folks are going to have to comply with our design standards, our way of life per se. And I guess from being in the ACI, I would rather have any potential contaminations go to the wastewater plant, and we know about it, we can identify it, and reasonably find out who is putting the nasty stuff in there, rather than having it go through a septic tank into the aquifer and nobody's ever going to know about it. So that's my take on it, and not that we want it in a sewer treatment plant, but at least we can detect it and deal with it. We've had to deal with, most recent one was a paint company that was putting contaminants in the sewer. It was dealt with. I personally went to the paint company discussed it, and problem solved. So that's my take on this.
And for clarification for council, this type of agreement could have technically been on your consent calendar. We very strategically knew this was going to be unique to you and maybe not the last time you're going to see something like this, and wanted you to be able to ask questions and have a healthy discussion. So this is a very healthy discussion. These are all appropriate questions, and this is why we put it as a separate action item on the agenda.
Other questions from council?
I have one more. If I
Yes,
may.
sir.
So
Mr. Roder.
Thinking of it another way is if we were to deny this request and they built to county standards, and then 5 years down the road, they want to annex into the city of Hayden, does that create a problem for them because they designed to a different design standard, but would we require them to upgrade at that point to come into the annexation?
Sometimes there isn't room because county standards don't require road dedications that we require. So if they're allowed to build to county standards, they'll build out farther to the roadway, then you won't be able to get your typical roadway sections.
And they've
In
done their
this case,
dedication.
they've done that, but it's not in every case.
But the answer to the question is, we could, if a future council wanted to approve their annexation, if they met the county standards, that would not be a problem. They say bear with me. I'm just saying, I'm not saying we deny, but if we did deny this and they went ahead and they developed it to the county standards, 5 years down the road, they say, we want to annex into the city. Can they still annex into the city because they designed to the county standards?
They could still request to annex into the city, but in most cases, as far as road typical sections go, the county's road typical sections do not require you to set your buildings back far enough so our future road typical sections won't be wide enough because they'll have buildings planted over where you want right-of-way dedication.
I understand it, but my question is still, could they be annexed
They
in?
could.
They could. It's just they wouldn't meet our standards for roads. Okay.
Other questions from council? Ms. White?
It could be other standards, but that's the most graphic. That's why I use that.
Thank you.
So how many potential hookups is this
No
for
idea.
the sewer? No idea?
It's
It's just the one,
It's both properties.
both,
Today, all of this is self-storage. All of this is self-storage. There's a little office right there in the front, and there are offices in the back.
okay.
I'd like
So
to make,
potential hookups would be 4?
No,
No.
I'm not going to guess, but it probably won't be that much.
Mr. Roder?
I'd like to make a motion on this.
Yes, sir.
Mayor. I'd like to make the motion.
Well, please.
Sure.
Any other questions from council? Mr. Roder?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Doug and Jody Mayo Living Trust Little Tree Storage Annexation Deferment Development Agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion from council? Hearing none, roll call vote, please. Abby?
Councilmember White,
Yes?
Councilmember Satterfield,
Yes.
Councilmember DePreez.
Yes.
And Council President Roder.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 5B, the approval of the various amendments to the sewer policy. Mr. Soderling, are you the expert on that this evening?
Yeah, let me get this up where I can read it. Mayor and council, what we're looking at here is this sewer policy was written about 2 years ago. These are fairly minor changes. The first one may be a little bit more substantial, but to it, and they're based on things of the past that have happened in the last 5 years, let's say.
Problems.
Yes. In other words, we always make rules because somebody points out that we need them. The first one's a little bit, deals with
design of our lift stations. Our lift stations are extremely expensive. They're extremely expensive to operate. They're extremely expensive to maintain. They're extremely expensive to replace with the lifespan. And so when we build those, the way they're built affects the overall long-term cost to the end users, which is the citizens of Hayden. We have found over the last 5 years that the design and construction, when it is controlled more in light of, a lot of times it's developer driven. It's designed by developer engineers, and not that they're not qualified engineers, but it's not what they do for a living. They do subdivisions. They may do a little lift station here or there, but it's not their forte. When the city goes out for our request for proposals to our qualified engineers to do work for the city, we look at what our needs are and what those special needs are. And one of those special needs is sewer lift stations, sewer force mains, sewer systems. That's the part that we usually get involved in. The sewer main, gravity sewer mains usually are done by developers, so we don't get into that very much. So we look at engineers who are specialized in that area, and what we've found is, and just in the past, is that we're getting a much better product from that specialty group than we're getting from this other group, and that means that the citizens are getting a much better product. And so that is basically the driving force for that first deal that would require that in our regional lift stations and our lift stations in general, that it would be designed by, not that the city would involve, but they would have to use an engineer on our pre-approved list for that type of work. Second item on here, this is hard, there we go, is dealing with the grade, and that's the site grading. So how steep the site is, like, or you got this steep road, or you got a steep driveway in, or is it flat? We have got the last 3 lift stations built in the last 2 years. One of them was so steep we had to pull the sewer lift station or sewer vector truck out of the deal in the wintertime with the equipment because the grades were so steep, and that was part of the design inadequacies. We have another one that we have worked on for about 6 months now to correct that before it got completed, and it's creating quite a few design changes for that group. One of the things that came out in that second one says you don't have any, we can build at whatever grade we want. You don't have any standards. We would like to have that standard. So now it's not, that gets rid of that argument. You know, we pretty much said, yeah, but it's got to function. Well, but we think it'll function. We're going, well, we don't believe it will. So what we're saying here is, no, we'll just set a standard. Then it's not a question anymore. So that's a very simple one. I don't think anybody's going to have, there would be no real kickback from that. The third one is as a result of technology. These lift stations are built in different places in the town. We have things that are changing on a monthly basis in the technology world. One example is detection of the level of water in a lift station. Typically that's been done with various equipment. The new equipment that's out there is a radar. It's very, very accurate. It works very well. That wasn't in our standard. And so when we wanted to use that, you know, it's like, well, where does it say that that's what you want, right? It's not a cost thing. It's just a matter of they're going through this book and they think they've gotten to the end, and then we come back and say, well, we'd like to have this. And they're going, well, you're going to make us change something, right? It's kind of a frustration level sometimes. The other one that comes up a lot is communication. We need to be able to communicate with these lift stations, and some places cellular modems work, some places radios work, some places it's hardwire, some places it's fiber optic, and that's different situations, and there's different equipment coming out all the times for that communication. We want to be able to make those judgment calls at that time, and so we're really kind of saying, hey, we have the right to make minor changes to meet the current technology so that we're not having stuck with something that's a year old. when we know that that's no longer going to be what's out in the forefront and what these systems are. Again, I think in the changes we've requested in the past, mainly they've agreed to it because it really wasn't a huge cost difference. It was just a matter of the frustration level. The last one, I believe it's the last one. Yes, it is.
It is.
Has to do with monitoring basically non-domestic flow, non-residential flow, which we're going to be required to do. We're actually kind of required to do it now. We just don't have any methodology to do it. And it has to do with our pre-treatment. It has to do with these commercial that we were talking about here. If something's going in there, how do we know what it is? How do we control it? How do we deal with it? Are they responsible for pre-treating, right? We don't know. And so it's a standard that basically says that on these non-domestic, and that includes some multifamily and some of these other listed here, that they have to put in a sampling station that we can actually dip. Basically, you're dipping a sampler into the flow, taking it into a bottle, taking it to a lab and having it tested. It's a simple manhole. It's not a huge design issue. It's basically setting the manhole over that service line so that we can lift the lid. We would have the right to go in and sample that if we think if we're having product problems. We'd be able to enforce our pre-treatment ordinance, which we really have a hard time doing at this point, and which we'll have to upgrade here in the very, very near future.
If I'm not mistaken, this directly addresses Mr. Satterfield and Mr. Roeder's concerns on the previous issue.
It certainly is part of that, yes. Mhm. And so those are what we're asking for.
Comments and questions from council?
And I would add to that, as indicated in the memorandum, this is a request to amend policies that then would direct code change that would come back before you with a public hearing.
Okay, so that will be our next step, is to
The
come
next
back as a request for
For
code
1 and
change.
4, yes.
Okay, 2 and 4. Mr. DePriest?
If there are no further comments or questions, I'd like to go ahead and make the move to approve the various amendments.
I have,
Oh,
Okay.
Ms. White?
yeah, I have some comments. So yeah, I went and talked to Rob and Alan today, and I thank you guys for taking the time to talk to me. And I agree with the last three, but the first one, I feel like it's restricting competition when it limits to the 3 companies on the roster. I'm just concerned that it hinders free enterprise and it creates a monopoly of just only choosing from the 3. So I have a concern with that one.
Okay, Mr. DePriest?
Can I ask how White would suggest dealing with that on each basis? Like an RFP or RFQ for each type of thing, or a bid, or what?
I would put it out to bid. I'd say that when we created the roster, it was with the intent, I have it in front of me here, it was with the intent of not going over 50,000 per item, but these are going to larger bids, and there's no standard as to how we come to this agreement on this roster in conjunction with this memo, with this code change.
I will try to speak to that for
Thank you.
the council. First of all, we're talking about professional services in this item, not construction,
Which is design.
which is design of it. And it is not, the design portion is not a super large project. It's not a small project for sure, but it's not a huge project, requires bid. Secondly, Idaho code requires selection of engineering services based on qualification-based selection, not on not on financial reasons. So it isn't a bid, it could not be a bid issue even if you wanted it to,
For design.
for design.
Didn't council approve that list? Didn't we have to approve that list?
We did, and it was qualification-based selection of those firms, and it was a number of firms that applied, and We had selected the three top, what we thought were the three top firms to provide those services,
Based on qualification.
based on their qualifications, yes.
Ms. White, does this make you more comfortable to come up with a vote on all four policies?
I'm not comfortable with limiting to only three choices. I think it confines it creates a monopoly. So I'm not comfortable with that.
In that case, I would suggest that I would be happy to take a motion regarding policies number 2, 3, and 4 first.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I would strongly suggest you do the call of the question on the entire proposal.
Yeah, I don't think I get a motion to. All right, I'll entertain a motion on the amendments to the sewer policies. Mr. DePriest,
I will make that motion to approve them.
we have a second. We have a motion and a second. Is there a further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please, Abby.
Council President Satterfield? I'm sorry, Council President Roder?
Which one is it? We'll do it in unison. Yes, I think it's me.
I'm sorry. Councilmember White?
No.
Councilmember Satterfield?
Yes.
Councilmember DePreez?
Yes. Motion passes. All right. Our next item is reports. Mr. Boyer, I believe that you have some city administrator reports for us.
I mentioned several of us were down at the Association of Idaho Cities Conference, and I thought it was a good one, well-organized, able to take advantage of meeting with people down there as well, with FCS and with DEQ, getting some questions answered and attending some classes and talking with people. And so I thought it was a informative time. Always with those things, not every class is the best, but I thought overall it was a good time spent. So from that we have information that we can use for possible purchases and just discussion of projects. So is that. I wanted to also mention, and I don't, Susie may want to bring up, we had the Dog Days event last Saturday, and I think my understanding is we had over 200 people there, which is probably more than we've ever had to that. And there was some fun events and I don't know, bouncy houses and fun stuff.
The Kootenai County Sheriff K-9 demo.
So again,
Jen and Kristen were the two that actually were in charge of that one, so they did great.
sounds like they did a great job. And anyways, those again are the kind of events that make, have that small town feel. And so it's fun to have those little events. So the other items, I know we've got some items to discuss in executive session, but.
Can I just tell a couple more things going on this week?
Sure.
Okay. So tomorrow we have the Hayden Bike Rodeo at the library down here. And we usually have over 100 kids that go to that. So there's some bike tune-ups, some helmet giveaway, that kind of stuff. So that's going on tomorrow. Thursday night, we have our Hayden movie in the park night. So that's this Thursday, and it's Minions, I think. Starts at dusk. And then look for, next week, we start summer concert series. So just want to get that up there.
It's not like it's a good
Thursday.
thing the movie at the park wasn't tonight from what we
I know.
can hear.
I think we had to cancel a couple of baseball practices, but
Okay. I'm sure Ms. Boyer, thanks.
No, yeah, that's all. Thanks.
Okay, great. Let's see, roundtable discussion. Does anyone have anything they would like to bring up for a roundtable discussion? Ms. White?
I'd just like to add to the comments about the Dog Days. I went to that and it was so much fun. It was great. Got my goodie bag and all that stuff. I didn't have a hot dog, but that was okay.
I heard they were pretty good.
Yeah, I heard they were good. So anyways, I just want to commend Jennifer and Kristen for doing that. They did a great job and everyone was really happy. And it was
Excellent.
nice seeing the barn in the background too. And I was just wondering, what time does the bike rodeo start?
10:30.
10:30, okay.
10:30.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Priest?
Yeah, kind of tag along with that, as we come in and out of the offices periodically and talk to different staff and things like that, you really get a pretty good idea of the job that the crew does here. And the flexibility, the fluidity, the teamwork, that you see in the staff that really run the city and keep the city going on, on the budget that we do have and things like that is really pretty impressive. And I think we all need to thank the staff for everything they do. On another issue, now that we have the survey done, and I brought this up before, we have feedback from what the community is interested in, what their key issues are and the like. And we've been dealing with, well, that's the comprehensive plan since 2018, and then it was adopted in 2021, and it's pretty much been like this ever since, with some tweaking and seeing what is and what isn't and what works and what doesn't. And I think with the survey, the people have had a pretty good opportunity to kind of see how things are working. But now that we have that information, I'd like to hopefully initiate a workshop-ish or two, where the first one would be council bringing their ideas to the table. What adjustments, changes do you want to make to the future land use map or the code text? We've made some already, but let's get it done. In my view, there's not a whole heck of a lot that we really need to do to create something that really represents what we see in that survey. And I think we could do it quite easily. But if everybody brought their ideas to the table, hey, I think we should do this and this, and do this and this, and then kind of decide what do we want to do, and let's get it done so we can move on to a lot of the other business that staff is burdened with, shall we say. So if there's an interest in that.
Could I get a sense from council of an interest in doing a workshop regarding comprehensive plan changes in the near future?
I would be interested.
Okay. Mr. Satterfield?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Roder?
I want to be more specific, but I love the idea, and Ed's been beating that drum for a while. And I think that we have definitely the input from the citizens as to what people want in the city as far as open space and growth. So I would like to see a workshop specifically targeted on reducing density in the city. However, we can do that with future land use maps or ordinances. And I also found out, going to AIC, one of the things you talk to people and you listen is that Blue Cross offers grants to amend or to build a comprehensive plan of up to $50,000. And we can contact Jackie or Courtney at Blue Cross. I don't know if that's at Boise or wherever, but AIC can help us. So if this costs some money, there's a possible grant from Blue Cross. So I support that 100%.
Does that have to be related to health insurance at all, or, I mean?
No, it's just
Cross getting involved in comprehensive plans.
Either to build, there was one small town that they were they wanted to have a comprehensive plan, and it said Blue Cross could get a grant up to $50,000 to do it. So
I don't know what got them into that.
So I support Ed. That's a great idea, and I love the idea. And one other thing, we're gonna,
Do you have a different subject?
yes.
Okay, then I will get together with staff and Brett, and we will schedule a workshop at our earliest opportunity.
Might I just suggest, so the 11th, hopefully we will have finished going through the budget. So that's our next meeting, and we'll have a workshop on that. If we're mostly done with the budget preparations, the 25th is the next meeting. We don't have a workshop then. Maybe we just tag a workshop on the 25th.
Does that work? Yeah. Does that work for
And
council?
I would say maybe, the overall discussion of the survey as well as specifically what you mentioned, so that we get any feedback or direction on the different topics.
Yep.
Anyone on council have a problem with the 25th, doing a workshop?
I will be fishing in Alaska.
Oh, you know what? Gosh, I might be too. No, not that.
That's,
Well,
it is what it is, so, you know.
okay. Why don't we plan on it? It will be the first of a couple
Okay.
workshops, I am sure.
Yeah.
So why don't we go ahead and plan that for June 25th?
July.
Yeah, that's what I meant. July.
Time travel that way?
Trust your phone.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
One more item, if I may, Mayor. The mayor of Star, Idaho, the last day of AIC, we get together with the city council, mayors, clerks, and we're divided up between small cities and large cities. And out of 200 cities in Idaho, about 175 are small cities. We're considered a large city. Not that many of them. But anyway, Star, the mayor said, we've had an average of, they're a 25-year-old city, so they're really pretty new. And they've had a growth rate of about 8% per year. And they said that they have never been able to catch up with the cost of the growth. They have a low levy rate. They're playing the game like what we're trying to do, and the best we can is with all the growth and with the taxes we bring in, we can only do so much. And so they're just another city that is struggling with how to pay for growth. A lot of cities are paying for growth, but they are especially because of their low levy rate. So but the point I wanted to emphasize is they said they could never catch up. You just keep kicking the can down the road. You keep kicking the can, and hopefully you catch up. With that said, I just want to commend the staff, everybody as part of this city, that what they do with the amount of taxes that we collect, because if you compare our levy rate to Rathdrum, Coeur d'Alene, and Post Falls, they're about 4 to 5 times higher than what you pay in the city of Hayden. So we have an incredibly efficiently run city, and the people like to work here, and the culture is a great culture. And I think we have a very unusual situation, and it's unusual that we can do so much with the amount of money that we have to work with. And I just want to say, all you staff folks, you are the reason why we're able to do that so efficiently. And you don't know how much I appreciate that. I think that we could be a model. And by the way, we have the best maintained roads in North Idaho. You guys, the road crew does a great job. Anyway, I
Completely agree with that. Thank you, staff. At this point, I would entertain a motion from council to go into executive session.
Second.
Second. Thank you very much. The purpose of our executive session will be under Idaho Code 74-2061F, to communicate with legal counsel for the public agency to discuss the legal ramifications of and legal options for pending litigation or controversies not yet being litigated but imminently likely to be litigated. Also under Idaho Code 74-2061C, to acquire an interest in real property which is not owned by a public agency. Do I make the motion now, or are we good?
They agreed to that.
I'm so moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Council members?
We have a brief break.
We will move
We
in,
need a roll
yes,
call
we will
vote.
take a 10-minute break. Oh, roll call vote, please, Abby. Thank you.
Councilmember Satterfield,
Yes.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Council President Roder.
Yes.
And Councilmember DePreez.
Yes.
We'll take a 10-minute break and get into our executive session. Thank you for coming tonight, folks. We appreciate it.